Welcome back to the couch. I'm here with the one and only Discovery Doc. We've actually got a special
Hey.
guest with us this week. I'm your host, Anna Kate, our all together, all knowing Dr.
Oh
CC.
God, why is she doing
Oh,
What?
all,
Because
all
it's
knowing.
true.
That's a lot of pressure.
I
A
Let's,
lot of
know.
all
pressure.
right,
Dr.
put it
CC,
on.
why don't you introduce us to our special
My
guest?
handsome stud muffin of a husband. This
Stud,
is
I'll
Willie
take stud
Love over
muffin.
here.
Oh no.
We went there. We
Yeah,
went there.
yeah.
This is my hubby of 7 years now. Babe, how do we meet?
How do we meet? So I'm a professional mixed martial arts fighter. I've been that for 16 years now as professional. Uh,
Almost,
Yeah,
yeah.
almost 16
Wow.
years. So we first met. I was a young bull, and so the small
What do you
gym that
what are
the
you
gym
now, an
that
old ox? Like what?
I'm an old ox. I'm an old out to pasture old ox now. No, so I used to train at this small gym in Illinois, Midwest Training Center, and we did our strength conditioning outside of our gym. Just another little spot we went to, and she was an intern there.
Yeah, at
Um,
that time, I thought, fun fact, I thought I wanted to go into orthopedics. Like I was
yeah,
super into,
Interesting.
yeah, orthopedics. And so they had more, like it was a huge athletic facility, but it was very focused on like more kinesiology and physical
Mm-hmm.
movement and things like that. So I thought it would be a
right,
good just opportunity to learn more about ortho and the ortho side of athletics.
right.
And then this dude came along and actually really did not like him
Yeah, so
at
my
all.
head coach, so I
Yeah.
had my head strength
Yeah.
conditioning coach, and then she was his assistant or intern
Yeah.
or whatever title you put on it. And so she would just stand there with a stopwatch,
Okay. I did
and he
so
would
much more
say,
than that.
"This is what you're doing." She has the stopwatch; she'll keep track of the time. So you had to do like interval workouts. And I've always been pretty egotistical when it comes to competing. So I'm gonna let you know when I'm doing something really well,
Understood.
I'm really good at something. So I was being that dude, being really loud, keeping myself energized and focused. And she would always just kind of chime in and tell me to just do the work and try to tell me to be quiet, all this stuff. And I'm like, hey man, you're just the intern. Just be here and hold the stopwatch. It was being kind of rude and nasty to each other. But yeah, I guess it was like
I was
that
like, he's kind of
childish,
cute, but
that
he's really
childish
annoying.
like thing, you're like, why you keep hitting that girl? Because you like the girl. So we were did that whole thing, and then
Did he grow out of it,
um
or is he
He did,
still
no, he did
okay?
grow
I
out
did
of
grow
it
out of
for
it.
sure. He
Yeah,
grew out
I
of it.
started getting better with that, but
But yeah,
yeah,
we were kids. I had
yeah,
just turned 20 at the
yes,
time, and he was 24.
yeah.
And
Mm.
fun fact, the first time we went out, there was actually like local fights that we went to.
You want
And
to tell this
yes,
story?
I love this story.
Okay.
There was local fights that we went to, like some guys at our gym were fighting, and I had never been to them whatsoever. We went, and I'm not going
Yeah.
to tell that part of the story, but
Oh yeah. They
after
tried
I
to.
know,
Yeah.
gotta save
I want
some
to know the rest
things.
of this
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
Okay, listen. Okay, discoverers. Um, we'll decide if we ever hear the
If you
rest
ever
of
So
want
the
that
yeah,
story.
story.
we'll come back
We'll come
around to
back to
that at
that.
some
But
point.
afterwards, they were all like wanting to go to the bars and stuff. And I was like, okay, I didn't say anything. I got in the car with them. And we get to the bar. And I look at Will and I'm like, do you think they'll accept my fake ID? And he's like, what do you mean you have
I'm
a fake
like,
ID?
I was
Because
like,
I'm
wait,
20 and
what
not
are you
I'm
old
like,
enough
saying?
a
yet.
new
Like,
20.
I mean,
Like,
you
I,
let us get all the way to the
because I
door,
was
to the
nervous.
point
I
where
didn't
you're
want
in
to
the
like,
parking lot, everybody's about to go have a good time, and then she throws it out there. You think they'll let me in? But luckily, it was a little local bar that was really kind of they were known. Our gym was pretty well known in that area, so
yeah.
they let us in, and we had no problems. And yeah, that was our.
That's how we found out I had a
That was
fake
just,
ID and I was
yeah,
not 21 yet.
yeah.
So there's
So that
that.
was that.
History ever since.
Yeah.
Well,
So
that's
that's
a
that.
great way to start off with
Yeah.
long-term relationship because y'all been together for how long?
12
12 years.
years,
12 years together, 7
7
years in the
married.
league. All right.
Yeah. And they have
All right.
three beautiful, gorgeous, strong babies. So as
Yes.
we talk about that in future episodes of all the athleticism and how they're brilliant, so they get it in spades with these two. So they're
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful,
Hey.
beautiful
Yeah.
babies. So you've got that background of kind of health in the way of strength training and agility training and all that, and also having the background of knowing that you have to fuel your body with really good things. It's not just
Yeah.
the supplements, and it's not just protein shakes and pre-workouts. It's
Yeah.
all the, not only the nutritional side but also the recovery side as well.
Right.
And that
Yeah.
how you two work together through that, of you make the executive decisions on nutrition and the things that get to go in not only her body but your body and the kids. How do y'all navigate that together? And you are the, you execute what happens in the
Oh,
household, because you're the cook, aren't you?
yeah.
I heard
Yeah.
I
that.
am. I am the
Yes.
cook. I think from I don't know. I never really had in depth knowledge of nutrition and all those different things, but being an athlete most of my life, I've just always known whatever I'm looking to get out of my body, I need to be putting it into my body, right? So when I played football, I wanted to be bulky. I wanted to be a lot thicker. So, a little bit more of a protein based diet. So I just knew the basics of what I needed for what I was doing. When I moved over to mixed martial arts, this is a sport where you're cutting weight. So I fight at 155. I normally walk around at like 183. So I have to know, all right, I have 30 pounds I need to lose. How do I do that in the most healthy way possible? So then you change the way you diet and things like that. So I just knew the very basics. And then once we kind of, she figured out what she wanted to do in her profession. And now she has the knowledge, the deep knowledge of everything. And then she just lets me know what we're eating in the household, and
So
I just
how,
cook it.
yeah,
So,
how we do that is I do the grocery shop. Well, he's now learned a lot, but
yeah,
what it started off as is I would do the grocery shopping. I would be the one to bring things into the house that,
Mhm.
hey, these are great options. These I'm good with in terms
right.
of ingredients or quality or whatever it is. And then he would just, make us food from that.
Figure out a way to how to make it taste good.
But he's learned a lot where now, like, I fully trust him to go to the grocery store and pick
Mm,
out things how I would,
Mhm.
just as a learning curve over the years for
yeah,
sure.
I mean, it's at this point it's pretty easy because we have a routine. We know exactly the things that we eat. We know where they're at in the grocery store, so it's really easy to just walk in like, all right, we're organic based, all natural kind of holistic family, and our diet is like centered around that. So everything is organic, and of course, you can get some products that say organic, but they still have some extra things in them that you don't necessarily want. So you just get that rhythm of like knowing
Yeah.
these are the things that work well for our family. So this is what I'm getting, and then there's some newer things that we might try, and you,
He
you
loves when
turn
I
it, you
bring
turn
home
the
very
box
random
over,
things.
and you read the ingredients, and I just go based off the one rule that she told me was if you can't read the first
If you
ingredient,
can't
then you
pronounce
can't
it,
pronounce it.
Yeah.
Leave it alone.
yeah. So,
So
and our
yeah,
kids know that too. Like, if you turn around and you can't read it, and it's like
yeah,
phenoxy ethyl 1276,
Right.
whatever it might be,
right,
and you don't know what that is, then leave
Probably
it.
don't
yeah,
eat it.
Yeah.
yeah. Just let that be.
And we
Like
also
that's not
have
the
like
one.
our routine of where we get certain things. Like, we try to get most of our meat and our fish, like chicken, beef, all of that locally
Mhm.
from a local farmers market.
Farm fresh
Farm
beef.
fresh beef,
Give
yep.
them a shout
And
out. They
I
love
know,
us over
I
there.
know.
Like, oh,
And all of our produce we'll get from there. We do have a garden, so we go out there not as often as we should, to be honest,
yeah,
but
we should use more.
we do have a bunch of stuff growing in the garden that we'll go out and pick. And then the only things we really go to more of a true grocery store for, or that we have to rely on that for, are the kids' snacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we know our go-tos and we know where those are. So yeah, it's been a learning curve for this dude, but he's on
Yeah,
board.
I mean, I didn't grow up with that. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't, if not to get too deep into my background, but I come from Chicago, and there's parts of Chicago that you hear on the news that they usually don't want to talk about. So we didn't have access to that kind of education and knowledge of these are types of produce and meats and all these different things that you want to put into your body. And we had access to McDonald's and Popeyes and fast food.
Mhm.
That's what it usually was. And when you went to a grocery store, they didn't really have all these other organic lettuce and organic chicken and
Mhm.
all these high quality products. So
Right.
I didn't know it until I was older. So yeah,
I also think that our, in the generation that we grew up in, that wasn't a focus. That wasn't an option
Right. Yeah.
of having better options, different choices. Because I remember when I first went gluten free, like 10 years ago,
Oh
there was
yeah,
nothing.
nothing.
You could not go to the grocery store. I mean, you could go to Whole Foods, but it was whole paycheck still then.
Right.
And there wasn't anything like alternative flours and things
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
to make the things. So, and I have a certified nutrition personal trainer background, so that's what I did before getting into where we are today.
Yeah.
So I have some of that, but that was based on my own journey as well.
Yeah.
So, what, if any, were the obstacles for you, Will, of getting on board with this nutritional lifestyle and overcoming, hey, I don't know about this. I just eat what I eat and it works. But when there's that better option
Yeah.
coming into that. So what obstacles do you feel personally that you might have struggled with or to get on board to this whole organic
And
organic
products too.
Oh,
lifestyle?
this
Not
is
not just food, but products too.
I don't know products as much just because I know what I like. So I have a sweet tooth
Mhm.
and I love all the junk. So I love Snickers, Reese's, Skittles, Starburst, all these different
Which
things that
eats my soul.
I was
Yeah.
used to growing up with, and there's look, let's not say it was a struggle. It's still something that I like. My kids will like tell mommy that dad I had a Reese's cup. I'm like, yo, like
Like
what are
they'll
we
find a
doing here,
wrapper in his
man?
car
Uh-huh.
and be like, "Daddy."
Daddy. But I mean, okay, so
Accountability, out of the mouth of
yeah,
babes
Yes.
comes accountability.
yeah, but it was something difficult that I had to get past. But then she found a bunch of really like quality substitute brands that were
Mhm.
these Snickers and Reese's and all these different things. So that kind of helped me make that transition where it's like, oh, I can still get the things that I like. But I can do it in a cleaner, more natural,
Yeah.
no additives and all those different things. So I've done better with that. And I think,
Like he's
yeah,
a huge like peanut M&M human. And I
Uh-huh.
was
yeah,
like, my biggest thing is just better options. Like I don't want to deprive him or our kids
Right.
of sugar. Like I get
yeah,
sugar and the stuff behind sugar, right? We all do. But there's
Sugar is
just
yummy.
yeah, there's just better options instead of,
right, yeah,
regular peanut M&Ms. So I was like, here, just try these.
Mhm.
And they're the peanut M&Ms by Unreal,
Yep.
and
They're
they're
so
so
good.
so
good. And
good,
I
he
wish they came in a
so
bigger
good.
yes,
bag.
yes.
I demolished it. Oh
And
man,
he ate them and he goes, "Oh my gosh, these are better than the other ones." I'm like, "Yeah, because they're
yeah,
real. They're
yeah,
made
Right.
with real
yeah.
ingredients."
So
So he'll let me do that. And I tell my kids this too. I'm like, "Listen, if you want something, like if there's anything that you see at school or that your friends have, because I never want them to feel like they are left out or
right,
excluded, especially at that age.
Right.
Like if you see your friends have it, like just tell us and
and
we'll
we'll
go
find it.
find a
Yeah,
better option of it and you can bring it to school or you can have it.
yeah,
Mhm.
So same goes for this dude.
yeah. So that was my one thing that I had to make adjustments to. I think again, being an athlete for so long, I kind of just had a base understanding of what you need to be putting into your
Mhm.
body. Maybe not the what are these ingredients in this protein powder that I'm using and all these different things, but I had a pretty sound way of eating and
Yeah.
dieting and pretty good way to navigate that. And again, just didn't know the depths and the details of it. Where just because I was eating this one chicken brand and it turned out that there was a better quality chicken brand, right? So I'm eating this quality, this brand, and I'm like, oh, I'm getting all the protein and all this, but then you're also bringing in the extra
Antibiotics and
antibiotics
chemicals.
and
Yeah.
chemicals and these extra steroids that are put into the chickens and things like that. I'm like, oh, okay, now I know that stuff. So
I think he
yeah,
also had like a good baseline and still has a good baseline of being aware of his body because
yeah,
I mean from the day I met him he was like I can't have dairy. Like he knew that
yeah,
dairy is not good for him. Like he knows how his body reacts. So we by default are a dairy free house
yeah.
and by default for me a gluten-free house.
Yep.
Right.
But to your point is it's so easy now like there and I tell patients this too when gluten-free became a fad it actually really helped those who need to be gluten-free
Right.
because the options are there now. So yeah for us we're gluten and dairy free in the house but he at least knows like hey if I want to stay away from this like he'll choose he doesn't have to stay away from gluten but he knows how his body feels after eating it.
Yeah.
Right.
And so he'll be like, no, I don't want to glutenize myself today.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to feel like garbage.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing that I've learned a lot, like just being with my wife and learning all these things is now I can tell if I ate something, I know how my body feels. I know like if if I'm feeling a little sluggish, I know how to trace it back and like, oh,
Mhm.
I did have a donut. Or I had a little something that I shouldn't have had. Or for example, like I have ADHD. And for a long time I didn't really she would always scream at me about the M&Ms
I
and
don't
all these
scream.
Sure. Okay. So
She speaks with
these
authority.
yeah,
Exactly.
but
And
I've
compassion.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
right, sure. If that's
And
what you
care
call
and
it.
loving
Yeah.
concern.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I want you to be the best version of
But
yourself.
anyhow, calm down. Man.
Optimize.
Yeah.
Optimize.
Optimize.
So
Yes.
I started figuring out that where I started noticing differences, right? My ADHD, I would have spikes where I was just like, why am I having a poor day today when it comes to my ADHD?
Yeah.
And I would be like, oh, I did have M&Ms. Why? What was? So what? And then I remember she was saying blue dye this and something about this and these
Red
different
Red
things.
40.
40.
Read
So
something,
close. Yeah.
and I started noticing that this is real. Like
Yeah.
when there's days where I can maintain myself and keep myself on a balance, but then there's days where I have something junky, and I'm like, oh, I'm having a terrible day today.
Yeah.
Like this is not a great day. But
And we'll
yeah.
see that in like Jackson. He at
Oh
school.
man.
So our Ava's really, really good at being other places, and she knows because she's older. She's 7. She
Yeah.
knows what we prefer her to avoid
Yeah.
or what she is used to eating, and so she'll decline things, and she'll be like, no, no, thank you. Like sometimes she'll blame me and say, mommy doesn't let me have that. But she's really good at just discernment and making those choices. Jackson will sneak it. And so there are times
Yeah.
where he'll have food dye at, without us knowing, and his dude is bouncing off the walls.
Mhm.
And I'm like, there's a reason why Europe has a label on food dyes that say may cause hyperactivity in kids. I mean, you see it, and he
Yeah.
feels, he
Right.
feels it too as an adult,
Yeah.
which is
Mm.
wild.
So I want to make an important distinction if y'all haven't picked up on this in just the conversation that we just listened to them have is that nothing's off limits. There's better choices and reducing the toxic load is important, but not we never have anything toxic. We never exposed to anything. That's not how they live their life and
Yeah.
how they raise their children, but they know that hey, we feel better when we make better choices. So I want to make
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
distinction and
Yeah.
awareness and bring you our discoverers to your awareness of they don't avoid it. They don't, nothing's evil, but there are things that we turn and learn
Yeah.
and
And
Yeah.
read the labels.
that's so important because when we've talked about this and how to approach our kids because we don't want them to like I just feel like when you're like, hey, you can't have this, like this is bad, then at some point they're going to rebel, right? At some point they're not going to understand why, and they're just going to go do whatever they want. So for me, and he makes fun of me, but I over explain everything, and but in this situation it's because I want them to understand
Mhm.
the why. Like, okay,
Right.
baby, if we read this and we see this, what is it? Why do we choose to avoid this one, or to have a better option without this ingredient? And Abel will give me a 7-year-old explanation, but it's an awesome
Yeah.
explanation where it's like, well, it's a fake chemical and there's ones that don't have that fake chemical in it, and it doesn't help to nourish our body, it doesn't bring us any
Yeah.
nutrients. And I'm like,
Ava
yes,
is
Yeah.
girl,
Ava
like
is like an
it's amazing.
encyclopedia when you ask
Yeah.
her. It's shocking, but it's more shocking to our friends and people who are around us how mature they are when it comes to their diet and things of that nature. And so it's just surprising, and it makes you feel good as a
It
parent because
does.
your kids are understanding why we're doing this, and it's not just when somebody is eating something they're just in the dumps about it, but they're comfortable with it, they're understanding of why
Yeah.
I'm not eating this, and they know I feel much better when I'm not doing this thing. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
it feels good as a parent, especially when you're doing the diet part, where other people look at your kids and they are like, "Hey, I kind of want to be like that, to have a little more
Yeah.
Yeah.
self control because my 7-year-old daughter said something about
Yeah,
something."
and I do feel like it's because we've spent so much time educating them on it
Yeah,
and not just telling them that we're going to do
Right.
this, and it's just because we say so.
right.
Right.
And even Jackson, I mean, he just turned 5 and
I'm a
he's
little bit of
getting
like because I said so.
He is.
That's just the era that I grew up in. That's how my parents were. So I'm like, I'm a little
More
bit
than
once
I.
in a while, like, yo, it's just what we said. So be done with
Yeah, but even
Yeah.
Jack is getting to the point where because he sees Ava like explaining it,
Mhm.
and he'll want to too, and it's super cute. And every morning, like even with their vitamins, like I just don't want them taking things to take them. I want
Right.
them to know like what is this good for. So I'll be like, hey babies, what is fish oil good for? And Ava will go, the brain, and Jack is like, my eye.
Aw.
I'm like, good
They're
try,
good.
dude.
They're
You
really
know.
good.
But he tries, but that
Yeah.
like we try to just make it fun and educational so they can be a lifelong habit for them and not just something that they're doing because their parents said so.
Yeah.
Right.
You know.
And y'all have really good eaters.
Oh my gosh, from day one.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
eat everything.
But it's because they eat like pro athletes, you know, like they're just eating what we're
We-
eating. Like
yeah.
they
Yeah.
started with, eggs and avocado and all the berries and salmon.
Right.
And,
They eat
I mean, from the
because
get
I
go.
mean we've had this weird thing where all of our kids, when we've had our kids, I've been in a training camp to
Yeah.
get ready for a fight.
Right.
So when they were here, I was on a diet of sweet potatoes, broccoli, chicken, whatever protein that I was eating that week. And it was like, yeah, I'm not making a bunch of foods. What I'm eating is
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
you're eating, what me and mommy are eating, you're eating this. So they've always got everybody in the household has been on a pretty strict diet because of me.
At
So
some point, right?
at
But it
some
gives them
point
the
it's been
base of
yeah,
like, oh, this is our normal stuff. And then
yeah,
we have the fun stuff every once in a
yeah. We
while,
do
you
like
know?
make pizzas and lasagnas, and but you find the gluten-free
Yeah.
noodles, or if they don't have the gluten-free lasagna-shaped noodles, we do
Mhm.
a massacholi with like different things like that. And
Wait,
you
what's
know,
massacholi?
you've never had massacholi?
No, I'm coming
It's
over for dinner
oh
sometime.
really?
Oh, it's so
What?
good.
Yeah,
It's
what?
like
For those of us
that's
that
not
do
a
not know what
Midwest. Is that
massacholi
that's
is,
not like
please
a,
explain.
you know?
It's I mean, isn't
It's
massacholi like cheese and sauce and
it's like it's baked pasta noodle. It's like baked pasta noodles with meat.
yeah.
You do like meatballs in it, and for us we do like again we are dairy. Try to stay away from dairy, but some things just don't taste as
Yeah.
good. It does. It
Right.
just it's true.
So
So we
make the best
do.
choice of
We
dairy
we make
when you
the
can.
best choices. So like hard cheeses, we try to do a little bit more of
I'm
that.
so
And
proud of you for saying
yeah,
that.
you see that? You see your
Wow. I
boy?
was
Look at
just
me,
about to cut
man.
in and say,
But
for those
yeah,
of you who don't know, sharper cheese have less casein content.
Mhm.
yeah,
So for those who are lactose intolerant, or all of us to some degree are, it's a much better choice than like
yeah.
mozzarella because it's filled with
So
much more
if we
casein.
do,
Oh, it's good.
yeah, see,
job.
I told you,
Wow.
girl. What's up? You know what I'm about.
He pays
Yeah.
attention.
So, but yeah, we have all these different dishes and things that we do, and we find substitutes where we can, and we just know what's good and what's not good. And our
Yeah.
kids eat everything because I'm a really good cook too. So that
I'm,
helps.
I'm coming over for massacholi. I'll let y'all know how it is.
And then
So,
I just
yeah.
run around and putting supplements in everyone's mouth.
Yeah,
Mhm.
she circles it back and does the supplements, and
His only thing there is he tells me when he's out of things. That's his job.
yeah, that's what I do. I use it all up, and then I'm like, oh, I think I need this, so I'll tell her
Yeah.
this is what I need.
I don't think he knows what any of them are. But
No, not at all. I will not
which is very
pretend like I
trusting,
know.
mind you.
I'm just like, hey, I've been feeling really good when I'm taking this, and when I'm not taking it, I don't feel good. So
So give me
yeah,
more.
give me a lot of it.
The thing, what he won't do though, and I try to. Can I put you on blast right now?
Are you going to do that one?
I'm gonna do
I
that
know
one.
you. Okay, go ahead, do it.
Real life, right here.
Real
This is
life.
it.
So I was taking. I love peptides. I use peptides all the time in practice. Peptides are little proteins that are very, very healing. And so sometimes patients in there, depending where in their journey they are,
Right.
we need physical healing peptides or cognitive healing peptides. I was taking one maybe 2 years ago, right before I got pregnant with Jada, called Samorelin. And Samorelin is awesome to help your thyroid, pituitary gland, adrenals just function a little bit better, and heal that pathway up a little bit. But it also kind of pumps out human growth hormone, which so in athletes then it's
Right.
banned.
Right.
But it's really, really awesome for recovery. So I got pregnant with Jada. So obviously I stopped using it, but we had a full vial left in the fridge. And I was like, it's going to go bad. So, hey, babe, take it. Like, you should
Yeah.
take it because he was not in camp.
I wasn't
Okay.
in
He was
camp.
not preparing for a
I
fight.
wasn't fighting. I was
Or
just
else I
doing
would
at
have
home.
never said
Yeah.
it.
Just let everybody
Just
know.
let everyone
like,
know.
We're,
It's not
we're
synthetic
clean
HGH.
athletes. No, we
It's
were
Exactly.
we
helps your
were
body
we were not competing at this
Exactly.
time. So
Exactly.
it was
but he still works out all the time. Like he's
Yeah.
in camp. So I was like, you should take it. Like we don't need to waste it. It can help you recover, after your workout's better. Okay. The injection is an insulin needle, which for those of you who don't know, insulin needle is about
It's not that
yay
small.
big, which is like what, half an inch?
Yeah.
And very,
not that
very
small when
thin.
you
Yeah,
look at
it
it.
is. It's tiny.
It's tiny.
It's not that
tiny.
I mean, it's thinner than your nail. It's tiny.
Yeah.
And so you draw it up in a different syringe and then you change it out for an insulin needle and you just pinch like a little bit of something and inject it right into.
He doesn't
into the
have a
skin.
little bit of something because he's lean most of the time, even
Yes.
when he's not
You
in
just
fighting
love,
weight.
you
But
love
even
this.
just like a little skin, just something,
Yeah.
right? So it's not a big deal. I mean, people do this at home all the time. I was doing it to myself.
I've done it all the time. No,
Yeah.
I mean sub
Exactly.
sub-Q injections all the time.
Right. And it's not a bit like the first one might be a little scary, but after that, you're fine. His palms were clammy. He was sweating.
I don't do well with
Oh
needles.
my gosh.
Why are you doing this to me?
Is it needles or
I
is
do
it
not. I do not.
is
and
it
it's,
blood or is it the
it's
poke?
just needles.
No,
I
it's
don't
all
do well
about
with
needles.
needles.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I still, I'm a professional athlete. I have to do all these blood work and all this stuff.
muscles and needles are scary.
I
And
know.
I hate.
So-
I can't do needles, but I'm better with it now. But
He's
it was
not.
something
He'll
about her
only
poking
let-
me in the belly.
He'll only let
It
Heidi draw
felt
his blood.
weird. Yeah, Heidi's the only one. She's
Heidi's
my
Heidi's
girl.
the best.
My
Heidi
nurse
is the
at work,
best.
she's
Yeah,
the only one
she's
that
one.
can draw his blood.
Yeah.
But 45 minutes, I'm not exaggerating. He like took his shirt off because he was sweating so much. His hands are
I
clammy.
was
He's
I was
pacing.
falling
He's
apart. Yes, I
pacing.
will be honest. I was coming undone.
And
And I was like, what is happening right now?
yeah. And it was like 9:30 at night. The kids had to go to bed. It was just Ava and Jackson at that point. And he would come up to me and I would pinch his belly and he'd be like, nope, can't
Nope.
do it. Nope. Like needle not even near him. And finally, Ava, who was 5 years old at this time, she looks at him and she goes, Daddy, it's okay. Just be brave.
Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah, that helped.
Again, out of the mouth of babes, accountability.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
We got the point is we got it done.
After
We gotta
45
figure it out.
minutes, and by that point, I'm so annoyed because I'm like, the kids have to go to bed. Like, I'm tired. Let's go.
Yeah, you
Come
got
on.
upset.
Like at first, I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna give him some grace here.
Yeah.
But yeah, that took so
Took a
never
while.
again.
Whatever.
How big was
We
it?
got
So it
done.
was one shot.
It was one
one.
shot.
And it's like,
I don't know.
Are
I
you
think
serious?
yeah.
Oh my
Anna Kate,
God.
it's like
I don't know what it
point-
was. I felt like it was just
I
a
think because he
weird
has no
spot. I
fat,
got
Yeah.
like
and so
concerned.
maybe you were scared it was gonna go like in somewhere it shouldn't.
I
don't
did.
know.
I was like, is she about to hit me with a air bubble? Am I about to
No.
get dropped in this
It's
kitchen? Like,
0.2 of a milliliter. You know how tiny that is? Like it is that much liquid.
okay, move on. We're moving on. We're moving on now. What are we doing?
Okay, so
Just-
hold on. So why this?
Fully dogging me out. Is this why you brought me on the podcast?
No.
Let's
So why this is
move it on,
important
wife.
Oh,
is that there are people. Don't be afraid, and if you are, we can help find.
don't
some
let him
things.
scare you.
Because
It's
there are
not.
things-
It's not that bad.
There are things that
It's
I've
just
had
me.
to do, like what being on blood thinners and having to do sub-Q stuff, and it
Yeah.
like. I mean, I've done it, and I've had bruises all over my belly because switched
Mhm.
inside and had to do more than just once. So that's what I
Yeah.
was asking: is
Yeah.
are you doing a vial like this, and you have to do 0.2 a day for 7 days,
Yes.
or
So with
Yeah,
something
it
like
was-
Samoralin, you want to do it nightly. He got one done and we never did it again because I was not going through that again. But it was a good effort.
you were so brave. You were so brave, Will.
It was. I don't know. It was an episode in life. These things happen. We're gonna move on, so my
Yeah.
wife will stop getting so entertainment out of me.
Well, now it'll be
Fine.
out. It'll be out in podcast universe.
Right.
And everybody
Put it
can
all
see
out
it
to
for all of
everybody.
eternity.
I tell patients this story all the time because they know what his pictures in our office, he's around, they know what he does for a living. And so I like to make light of it. Like it's
Mhm.
not too bad, but here's what happened
Yeah,
to
yeah.
my husband.
Right.
And then
So
they laugh, and it's okay.
I'm not afraid of needles, but I would be afraid of him standing across from me in the ring. So I would break out in full sweats and I don't
Yeah.
sweat. Like I have to get in my
She
sauna to
doesn't
sweat.
sweat.
Right. I don't
Yeah,
sweat. I
sweat,
know.
yeah.
Like
You
it's
know that-
100 degrees outside and I'm perfectly.
Mm.
That means we're
Perfectly
bad detoxers.
Yeah.
You know
We'll get
that.
into that in another episode.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
He's a great sweater. You're a great sweater.
Yeah. so
I'm just standing by, moving along. That's what I'm doing now.
okay. So how do y'all support each other running your household, and you're kind of taking care of the kids when you're not fighting, and you're kind of not stay-at-home dad, but
No, I
we
want you.
somewhat say that,
I
yeah.
know. I lean into it. I'm a stay-at-home dad when I'm not getting ready for a competition or getting ready for a fight. I am a stay-at-home dad, so I lean into that. I
Yeah,
know.
I think that, I mean, throughout moving to Georgia, so we moved here in 2019. Yeah, February of 2019. And like the job that I had at the time, I was working a lot. I mean, I was there every day.
Yeah,
And he, oh no, COVID hadn't hit yet. And he was still training, but then COVID hit, and so the fighting world completely shut down.
right.
But my world did not. And so that kind of started the more long term stay at home dadness. But it
yeah,
was needed. I mean, I wouldn't, like, we just prefer to not send our kids somewhere until a certain age.
Yeah.
And so Jack wasn't there yet. And so he was able to be home with Jack. And then once I had Jada and I changed jobs, that other job, then I was actually working a day and a half less. I was working 3.5 days, but it was way more demanding.
Right.
Um, and so after I had Jada, I mean, I did take eight, no, 7 full weeks off and then kind of slowly got back into it. But if he wasn't at home, like, I have no idea what we would have done.
Yeah.
Like, he was the one waking up with Jada and sleeping downstairs with her on nights that I had to
yeah.
work so that I could just wake up and pump
Right.
and go back to bed and go to work the next day. I mean, they literally slept downstairs for 2 months.
Yeah, yeah. I brought one of the. So Ava has what it's called a trundle bed.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
This is a small bed, pulls out underneath. So I took the mattress from there and I went downstairs and had a little like baby crib thing for Jada, and we slept downstairs and
Yeah.
just did our thing. And
And he would
it
stay
was
up
it.
really late watching anime.
Yeah. So this is like that's just how we kind of did it. I think I for most of my life has been organized sports and being a part of a team. So I kind of like it sounds simple. I brought over everything that I've been coached to do, which was being selfless and doing whatever that's required to help the overall success of the team.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like everybody uses that, or not everyone, but it's used often. It's a team thing. We're
Yeah.
working as a team. But you are. And there's times where you want to be a little selfish and things like that. So but for me, that's kind of the approach I took was like, all right, what right now in life, where does and I don't know where your podcast is, but we're believers
Yep.
in our house.
Hmm.
So I was like, all right, well, in this season, where does God have me in this season that we're in right now? And that was being in that role as of support and being in that role to do my job to help the overall team. So my job was to sleep downstairs with Jada so she could get rest and do her pumping and be prepared to go to work because I know what being that fighting is shut down. So my financial ability to be to help in that space was at a standstill. So the one that was doing the financial work was the wife. So it was like, all right, I need her to be at the best that she possibly can be for the benefit of the family. So I was kind of approach, and that's what we've always kind of
But I
did.
also, like, he is just not a normal human either. Like, I truly think that because we know so many couples, and I could maybe name one other guy in those couples, at least in our friend group,
Mm-hmm.
that would be willing to do that.
Right.
Like, and I would, for whatever reason, but I think you were just literally meant to be a dad. Like, it's so natural for him. He doesn't have to think about anything. He just does it, you know? And it's just, yeah, it's so natural that for him to take the baby overnight and wake up every 2 hours with her
Right.
is not like some weird thing. It just happened. And it's just,
Yeah.
he's good at it. He can do it. He takes it on. Like, I've always been the one friend in the group that can go out and leave all 3 kids at home. And my friends are like, wait, you didn't have to get a babysitter? And I'm like, what do you
What do
mean?
you mean? I've left you with dad.
Right. I'm
Yeah,
like,
You're not
no,
babysitting, you're parenting.
like,
right,
oh, you
yeah.
didn't have to ask? I'm like, ask for what?
No.
Like,
No, I think
but it's just,
it's
it's odd to me, but it's not the norm. And, so
yeah,
that it was crucial. It was crucial to me being able to get back to work.
yeah,
And the job that I do is so like mentally taxing
Oh yeah.
that yeah, I can't do it if I'm tired. Like I can't give you my all as a patient and take on all your symptoms and all of your health concerns and everything and create a plan and interpret labs and all these things intelligently or as intelligently as I can if I'm not feeling good.
right.
Right.
But it was also we were also in a season where CeCe had to be backup and support. When I was in training camps every other month,
Yeah.
and the career was really fight after fight after fight. I wasn't at home a lot, and I would be in the gym or I would be traveling for some different media requirement for whatever promotion that I was competing for at that time. So she had to play that background role of support. How do I do my best to make sure the whole team is doing the best we
Yeah.
possibly can? So it was just again, we just
And that was for a good chunk. Like
yeah, that
the
was for a
6
huge
years
amount of
we were
time.
in
Yeah.
Florida, that was it. And then it's like we moved here and it kind of roles just
It flipped. And we
flipped.
started
Yeah.
to transition and move over into a new space. And look, I'm not going to pretend like it was easy because I think if for myself, and I think we um, grew up in an era where what you were taught was as a man, you are a protector and provider. But the definition of that was always, I need to financially be the one.
Hmm.
That's how I contribute to my family. Is it's got to be through finances and money, this and being that thing, you know. So it wasn't easy at first, but then I started realizing that, oh wait, I've done that already. I did that part. I've made money and financial things of that nature. And when God puts me back in that position that, hey, if he puts us in a season where it's like, hey, this is your role as protector provider. Now I need you to go back into the financial space of things. And I'll do that. But in the time that we're in now, in the space that we're in, the season that we're in, I've been called to be a stay-at-home dad
Mm-hmm.
and do
Hmm.
that role. So
And we are
yeah,
we are very, very blessed for that because how we want to raise our kids, we need that. Like
Right.
we have been so we're just really, really lucky to have this balance. Like even with opening my practice, my business partner and I went into this saying, because as of right now I'm the only practitioner, I said, hey, I'm going into this, but I'm only working seeing patients 3 days a
Mm-hmm.
week. Because that to me, like when I was working 3.5 at my previous practice, that became too much with our kids. I was
Right.
missing everything. I
Right.
was missing, being able to,
T-ball and
yeah,
gymnastics
yes,
and
and not being like, and I would complain to him. I'd be like, I can't even drive Ava to gymnastics. Like, and it's little things like that. That balance for a little bit was weird, where I was almost jealous that he was getting to spend so much time with our kids, whereas he's over here like probably a little bit jealous that I get to leave and remove myself and go to work for a little bit because it is freaking hard to be
right.
a stay-at-home parent.
Right.
Like it is hard. um and so like that balance was weird for us to figure out a little bit, was that like we're doing two separate things and how can we just equal out that teeter-totter a little bit better. But going into the practice, that's why I said I'm only working 3 days a week,
Right.
and it gives me the opportunity to at least be present for a day of homeschooling because the kids are home Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. But if he wasn't there all the time, we wouldn't be able to homeschool them.
yeah,
Right.
We would have to send them to school.
yeah.
And so just in raising our kids and wanting to do homeschool hybrids, wanting to have them in all the activities and whatever they want to explore, it wouldn't be possible if he was working a regular 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Right. Because you just wouldn't be there. So in our
Yeah.
last couple of minutes and wrapping up, kind of, I mean, what I take away from what you said is kind of your best advice is learn to be a team player because every player is important, but then
Yeah.
also learning when it's time to play offense and defense
Right.
and
Yeah.
when to come into the locker room and when to make that shift
Yeah.
of okay, how can I be supportive? Am I
Yeah.
supporting
A starter versus a I don't know the opposite of that.
Yeah, no, I
was
mean,
gonna say a bench
I
player,
felt
but
like
then
you were
it's
going. I'm
not.
not. Look, like,
I know.
like I do way too much
Yeah.
work to be a bench player. Look,
But you're the
no,
relief
but
that comes in.
The
because
yeah.
you both
So
have-
it's
you're
legit.
the
Like
sub.
it's just
Yeah.
reading what you need. Like it's everybody's using this term a lot recently. It's like read the room. I'm reading what my wife needs me to be. I'm reading what my kids need me to be, or and outside of them, what other men in my life, my friends, like these different people who look at me as I've ever a lot of new guys who are becoming new dads, and they call me and they ask me questions. So I have a responsibility to them also to play this job or do this job to the best of my ability and be that leader and play that position and say and let them see, hey, sometimes this is going to be your role. And then there's going to be times where you just have to let your wife kind of vibe it out and just see where you're at. And then, the everybody will tell you what you need to be in that moment in time. And I think we've done that really
And
well.
I think a huge part of it, and
I'm
one
hyper
that
competitive too.
you
So
are very
I want to.
like a massive part of it that I'm better now, but I definitely went through a phase where I had to like work this out in my brain, is that every role is as important. Like
Absolutely.
it is, and it took me a little bit because I was so exhausted working like not now, not with my new practice, but in the past, I've been in spaces where I was working 4 days and in school full time because at my old practice, I had to go back to school and I was pregnant and then I just had a baby and
Mhm.
I was like I was so focused on everything I was doing that I looked at Will's role and I was like, how lucky is he? He gets to be home. He gets to hang out with the kids. He gets to be there with them all day. And then when you actually get flipped and put in that role, I'm like, holy moly.
Yeah.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
I mean, it is exhausting being home with kids. And so, like, the appreciation factor and the factor of, hey, these are both equivalent roles. And we need to, like, just come together and make it work no matter what role that is.
Yeah.
I think we've created that balance and we're always working on it, obviously. But I also think what's important is that we know what we're both good at and what we're
Right.
not good at.
Right.
And
Yeah.
like for example,
Like I
he
am.
doesn't like when I load the dishwasher.
Oh man, don't.
Yeah, I
let's
can't
not
load the
even-
dishwasher
He hates when I
either.
load
I
the
don't
dishwasher.
even.
So
I don't even think we have another hour to do that. Like,
just quickly,
yeah.
but there's little things like we come down in the morning and we have our routine, we have our rules.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I get the kids snacks and the water bottles and their
Right.
supplements and feed the dog. He makes breakfast and lunches. I get their water bottles, put them in the backpacks, but he does like the bulkier things, actually the
Yeah.
sandwich of the lunch where I do the sides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we just know that.
But
So
I'll
we've
let her know, like, don't mess up my sandwich.
Exactly.
Don't mess up my lunch, because I am like when I say I've leaned into this stay at home
he
dad
takes
life,
pride in his
I
lunches.
take pride in the way I
Yeah.
pack lunches because I grew up doing it in a space where I didn't get this type of like quality food and all these different things.
Yeah.
They weren't accessible to me. So now I'm like, I'm doing it. I have 3 kids. I have my wife. We have nothing to worry about. We have access to all these great options. And then it goes into my hyper competitiveness. And I'm
It
like,
has to
my
be
son, my kids are about to have the best looking lunch when they get to the school.
Yeah,
Like,
which is
Mhm.
so-
amazing.
Yeah.
But it's
So,
just
like,
it's that
yeah.
balance where we know what we're good at. We also recently have
Yeah.
been much better at this, but with coming home and I'll be like, hey, I'm at like 10%.
Mhm.
Like I got nothing. And he'll
Yeah.
be like, okay, I'll take all 3 kids to bed.
Yeah.
Normally we alternate, like even Jackson go to bed together and then the baby goes to bed by herself. And so I'll take the baby and he'll take the kids and then we'll flip flop the next night. And sometimes he'll like at the end of his day, being home with the kids all day, he's like, I got nothing.
Yeah.
Tag team, tap
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, for
Ah,
sure.
Exactly.
he's-
And
And
I'll
it's-
say that.
and
I'll
it's
be like,
like-
Tag,
Yeah.
you're it.
It's very basic stuff
Yeah.
too. Like it's like if she's only at 10% and we got to get these kids down to bed, I look at the clock. I'm like, hey, you know what? She's only got 10%. I'm about to watch a whole bunch of anime and like play my Xbox because she's not going to want me to hang out with her.
No,
So I look at the
I'm
clock.
still
I'm like,
gonna-
yeah, I got 2 or 3 hours to myself where I'm about to refresh. So get these things to bed, and I'm downstairs, and she
And
does
I'm
it.
like,
She
I'm gonna go
gets
to
it.
bed.
She's like, peace. I'll see you tomorrow. Good work today. Kisses, smooches, everybody go to bed. So that's
Yeah.
how we do it.
balance.
Selfishness does come into play sometimes.
It
So
does. Like,
you
I
have
love
to-
when he goes out because then I can binge watch 4 hours of shows that he
Yeah.
won't watch.
Mhm.
It's just all literally balance.
Yeah.
Balance, knowing what each other are good at, what we're not good at, and how much energy we have that day.
And you both show up for your team when your team needs you.
Yeah, that's it. Act
Yeah,
like you've
buddy.
been there before. It's my motto. Act like you've been there before. That's how I operate.
Just try it once, just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do it and get it done.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, thank you, Will. Thank you for
Oh.
sharing. And
Of course.
Thanks, babe.
That's just good. I like it.
so
Yeah.
this is the support system behind the Discovery Doc when she
Sorry,
comes home and
sis.
it's what you named yourself.
Hey, you put the label out there. You got to live up to it
So
now.
That is true. I couldn't do all of this without this dude. I just couldn't. And it's a lot. It's a lot to have a practice. It's a lot to run a social media platform, to do a podcast with three children who
Yeah.
we homeschool. And I could not maintain all of that without you, Van.
Yeah, I mean, I like what I do. Like, I like what I do. So if she's not doing what she's doing and doing it really well, that interferes on what I'm doing. And it's again, it's a little selfish, but it's not to impact the family or the unit in a negative way. It's just I really like what I do with my kids. I like being in their lives. I like being a part of things. I like being a big old taxi driver and getting them everywhere, and we can laugh and talk and do the music and stuff like that. So I love that. So I feel like if I don't allow her to be the best that she possibly can be, I don't get to get that full experience, right? Because then I'm going to have to pick up something else somewhere else that's going to take me away from that. So, and I take a huge amount of pride in her success
Mhm.
because she's done that for me, and that's what we do in this unit. So it's hard, but remember, you can be a little selfish. Like,
Yeah.
it might
Yeah.
make it a little easier for people. It's like, hey, I'm trying to get something out of this for myself too. So
And one
yeah.
last thing
Is it?
is
Wait,
that
is this the B unit? The Brooks unit?
The Brooks unit,
the
there it is.
unit.
There it is.
Hey, Hoppa.
Yeah.
You can do it all. So I think as women, especially, we have this thing. Like my first boss told me when we had 2 kids, and I was like, "Oh,
It's 12.
I know you gotta go."
Back to
Speaking
dad
of dad
duty.
Gotta
duties,
go
yeah.
get back to
But
daddy work.
my first boss said, if you want to have a career, don't have a 3rd child. And that's stuck with me ever since. And I just hate that women get put in this position where you feel like you can't be a good mom, be
Mhm.
present for your children, and have a career. And it's not easy. It takes a lot of work. It takes an amazing partner, but it can be done. And that's it. Drop the mic.
Yeah.
Get out of here. We
Good
love
work.
you.
All right.
Mwah.
Thank you guys.
Thank
Do
you
you
guys
just want
for-
me to slide out?
Thank you
or do
guys
want
for
me to stay?
joining us. Stay tuned for our next series where we'll be talking about all things wellness related to kids going back to school with parents and kiddos and other special guests. That won't be my husband, but just as good.
We'll have Will on again and do a touch base
Yeah.
another time one day. So thanks for joining us on the couch today. Go do something that fills you up, put something in your cup that's really, really good, and let's discover together. The content provided in this podcast provides general information and discussions on various topics related to health, wellness, and medical advancements. However, it is essential to understand that the content provided in this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The host, guests, and contributors are individuals sharing their personal experiences, opinions, and knowledge in their respective fields. While they strive to provide accurate, up-to-date information, medical knowledge is constantly evolving, and the information presented in this podcast may not always reflect the most current research and medical guidelines. It is crucial to consult with a qualified healthcare professional or medical expert for specific medical concerns. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay seeking medical treatment based on the information presented in this podcast. The Discovery Doc podcast encourages listeners to use their own judgment and discretion while implementing any suggestions, recommendations, or lifestyle changes discussed in this episode. Each individual's medical situation is unique and may work for one, may not be suitable or safe for another. The podcast hosts, guests, and contributors are not liable for any direct, indirect, consequential, or incidental damages or harm that may arise from listening or acting upon the information provided in this podcast. Listeners are responsible for their own health decisions and should exercise caution and seek professional guidance when necessary. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge that you have read, understood, and agreed to this medical disclaimer. If you have any questions or concerns about this medical disclaimer, please consult a qualified healthcare professional.